As you guys have seen before on the channel, packing is key with these high dollar items, and Creality, well, they hit a home run with this one. Beautifully packaged. These projects are made possible in part by PCBWay.com. They provide high-quality printed circuit boards as well as 3D printing, machining, and many other services. Check them out on the web. They kindly support this channel and many others to bring you new videos every week. So everything came just wonderfully packaged, and I'm quite content with the look of things so far. What's super cool though is how this came almost completely assembled. Just the gantry, just the upright to install. Looks like a few bolts and nothing to it. I love that. Man, that's a far cry from what I had when I first started 3D printing. That is a pretty neat setup. The way they shipped it, seemingly just perfectly safe and nothing's damaged. Our heater wires for the bed are fine, so pretty content with that. A quick look at the instructions and I'll go ahead and fire it up. Just take a quick check of all the idlers and make sure that they're all set up correctly. They should all just have enough tension that you can't spin them easily, and not so much that they're loose. And these are all actually perfect. Took me just a minute to find the X-axis limit switch. It's under this cover. We've got it tucked in there. I could hear it when I ran the extruder over, and you could just hear the micro switch click as it reached the end stop, and that's yeah, it's all nice and covered, this thing. They're getting better by the day, where printers are having more and more nice looking covers and more like the mainstream would expect. Pretty cool. And our filament holder. That just holds our filament up here, and I think that's the way I'm going to leave it on this. All my other printers pull from below. I'm just going to go around to all the fasteners now and make sure they're all snug on all of basically everything that the factory did. And what you can do is just put a little dab of nail polish on each one as a witness mark. Then you never need to check them again. If your witness mark moves, if it breaks the contact of your paint, then you know your fastener is moving and has come loose. So it makes it really easy at a glance. I don't think I'll do that on this printer because I kind of like the look of it clean here. But in a more industrial environment, if you're running like a print farm or something, and time is money, well, you want to just do little witness marks on everything, and it worked pretty good. And that is it. All that's left now is to go through the bed leveling procedure and get our first print on the go. I'll save you guys sitting through that. There's 100 different tutorials out there. We'll use the piece of paper under the extruder once our heated bed is up to temperature, and that's all there is to it. We'll get a print on the go and maybe see if we can get a benchy. Oh, check out the color on that screen. I love it. Very cool. Super responsive. Standard Creality button and encoder that they've been basically using since the CR10, like I have right there. Still going. This was my third 3D printer, and still going to this day. I'm just going to check the belt tensions. That one's a little bit tight, so they've got knobs for the adjustment on these, which is super cool. We can back that one off a little bit. That was rubber band tight. They're going to stretch in a little bit, so that actually would be fine. That is a clever idea. No messing around, and super, super, super easy. Very cool. I like it. This is cool. A little drawer for your goodies. That's a nice touch. Now I can just leave it set right with it. I like it. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. An SD card in the package costs almost nothing, yet the end user just doesn't have to mess around. Just cheap insurance that the user has a good experience right out of the box. Kudos. Some black PLA from Duramic 3D. I thought it was dynamic 3D, but it's not. I've been running this spool for a while on my Anycubic. It's worked flawlessly. I know exactly what I'm dealing with here. It's just cheap from Amazon and it works. Actually did find an assembly problem. This zip tie right here is way too tight. When I went to feed the filament through, I can feel it dragging right there, and I bet you there'll be an indent. It's hardly visible, but that was tight enough to be crushing the tube. So that is, yeah, now we're completely free. So that was a little bit of, oh, this one's too tight too. Down here, well, you can see that feeding through, but that, when I hit that zip tie, it stops solid. That, right out of the box, is a problem. Huh, didn't expect that, but... So there's a trap for new players, and let's see. If we hold the... Ooh, that's still tight going through. We're not into the extruder yet. Oh, there it is. It kinked my filament. That is not ideal. Okay, it's absolutely fine now. What had happened was I kinked the filament a little bit, trying to get it through those spots before, and now it's freed up. So I just had to cut a chunk of filament off and we're good to go. So we'll replace those zip ties with the ones that they gave us, and we'll just go a little bit gentler than what they did and not crush the tube. You don't need that much tension. In fact, I'm taking this one off too. That just looks like it's miles too tight too. It's just, well, there's no need to have anything screaming tight here. It's just wire management at this stage. And yeah, there. Perfect. Our wire management, it's not in the instructions how to do it, but look, they've got a perfect cutout here on the extruder on our mount for our stepper motor, and we can secure the cabling there because this part doesn't move relative to each other, only the extruder. So we move it all the way over as far as it needs to be. Then we know how much cable we need for that. We move this all the way up and we'll know how much we need for that. But basically, I'm just going to give it the max I can now on the bottom side, and then I'll know that we'll be good to go all the way up, such as this. And we use our sheathed cable against the metal, that way it's going to take the rub, and our ribbon cable we leave on the bottom side only against the zip tie. That way it won't take any chafing. Lovely. That is exactly how we need it to be. Something of interest here, we're going to follow the instructions for the auto leveling and not do kind of what everybody else has done online. Basically, they want you to auto level first, then take the piece of paper and set your gap for your print head. Okay, I went and did it my way, and I just basically leveled the bed as any old normal manual printer, then ran the auto level, and then set the offset again. When you've been 3D printing as long as I have, you can pretty much spot a perfect first layer, and that is one. You've got that perfect little bit of a flat top and little bit of domed edges. That laid down as good as I've ever done with any manual level. So this thing's off to a great start. Okay, I don't know what to say here. This thing's darn near silent. The only thing you can hear is the extruder fan. The stepper motors are basically completely silent. I can't hear them at all. There's nothing to measure for noise level here. This thing is just wonderful. 2 thumbs up. That is, oh man, I do not want to lose my i3 Mega. I love that printer, but this might knock it off of its throne. Wow, that's quiet. No squeaks, no bumps, no nothing. Just smooth action. I am already in love. This is going to be a printer to beat. Wow. Okay, and this is what we're left with. That is a thing of beauty. The original G-code provided on the SD card comes out just wonderful, actually. That is pretty amazing. A little bit of trouble on the foot just because there was no support added, but man, that is good. That is really good. Let me get a macro. Now keep in mind, this is really up close and personal, but there's our Z line, the vertical line where our layers are joined or start-stopped, and that's damn impressive. That is definitely better than my i3 could do, significantly so. That is a beautiful print. Typical at the top here, that's just a weakness of FDM printers. You can only do so much with thin layers. It's going to leave a little bit of a concentric circles as you get up to the vertical top. If it's a flat surface, you can iron it in like Prusa Slicer, but pretty cool. So quick recap, as this is kind of the end of this part of the review. The printer itself is solid. This G-code proves that this printer can do wonderful results. So now we move into seeing what I can do, and I'll set it up in Prusa Slicer and we'll run a print. Are you kidding me? The final results on these prints are just awesome. The Benchy came out great. My profile for Prusa Slicer will be down below. I've started a GitHub repo, which I do every time for all of these new prints. That way, if you end up getting one of these printers, you'll always have somewhere to start, and it'll be exactly where I started here. I don't think I'm going to change that profile at all. That's nearly a perfect Benchy. I'm super pleased with that right out of the box. That was just slightly modified from my i3 profile. And yeah, I have to say, I like this printer. I have no issues with it yet, but come back in 6 months or so and I'll do a follow-up and we'll see how it goes. Next up, we'll push it with some flexible filament and just see if it can be done. And a quick test with TPU. Beautiful results. This is just top quality. I have no problems with TPU on this at all. This is my first profile I've made, no tuning yet at all. This is the very first run. I'm running a second one just because when I'm set up for TPU, I might as well run off a few. So I have months worth of phone cases, if not years. Works great. Really happy with this. Oh, one more before we leave it. This is the Tpu Mounts that I just printed for an upcoming quadcopter build. The Ender 3 did just absolutely wonderful. These are, check out all these raised edges. Almost no stringing at all. Just a little bit. These settings are dialed in. I'm happy. And they're just beautiful prints for TPU. I am super pleased. So happy to have this in my workshop.